What?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi,
What order do we want to go in? Oh, I'm Natalie Miller.
I'm Rebecca Jackson.
I'm Hannah Kamek. I'm Cambria Reeves.
All right, so the first question is, which of the readings did you side with more and why? Now I do and go first. We'll just go in the same order we said our names.
Sure. So I sided with, was it Sister Beck who wrote that? I sided with Sister Beck's talk. I thought it was wonderful and uplifting and powerful and motivating as a mother and also as a woman. And so I definitely sided with Sister Beck's.
I agree. I sided with the Sister Beck's. The other one just kind of made me laugh. They, I, yeah, I just couldn't couldn't understand how they didn't see the power in motherhood and how everything else is so great. And I think there's a time and season for everything, and being a mother is a wonderful blessing, and we should all embrace it. And you can do other things too. He doesn't say you can't do other things, or Sister Beck doesn't say you can't do other things. You can do other things with your life. That doesn't have to be the only thing you do. But motherhood is so wonderful, and I agree with Sister Beck so much more.
I also agree with Sister Beck. That's like a talk that I like to refer back to. I don't know. So it's just like that's the truth and that's the doctrine, and she taught with the Spirit. So, well, yeah, I agreed with Sister Beck's article too, and I thought the other talk was kind of more like views of the world and kind of a justification for maybe some of what they're feeling and like I don't know. I mean, I think is like Sister Beck talked about the ideal and kind of this potential that we all have. Like I don't think she gave us this outline like expecting that we're all perfect at it, but kind of this ideal like the proclamation is like this is the ideal that we're striving for. It gave us that potential, and the other one just kind of seemed like it was like, well, this is how it is, so I don't know what you're expecting from us kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. The next question is, what do you think was the tone and focus of the What Women Know article? Did you see any of the philosophies of men mingled with doctrine? If so, where?
So this article, sorry, I kept on referring back to it. Like I would read it. This is just how crazy I am right now, and I'd be like, wait, is this for the church? And I would be so confused, and then I'd read it over again. But it really, the first time I read it, I thought, is this, the women's movement in the church? What was that called? Ordained women. I was like, is this these stupid people? Because it's like, it's like all these feminists think that like motherhood is the worst thing in the world. It's like, where would you would not be here if you didn't have a mother. So, like, you saying that motherhood is so stupid is basically saying that your mom is stupid for having you and that your life is of no purpose. Um, and there was a lot of men mingled with doctrine. Um, I just thought it was funny at one part. Hold on, I'm sorry, I'm pulling it up. Where it talks about working, it says, we work because we want to, because we need to, and because we have no other choice. The last line says, indeed, too many of us have learned that we are just one fully employed male away from poverty. I mean, it like not that it was, and not that that's doctrine really, but like they're just like saying like they know they're setting themselves up for failure. I think, and that even that line says why like the church education is very important, and they're completely forgetting about that. I mean, like, look at all of us. We're all four. We're four of us are going to school. We're all mothers, soon to be mothers, and we're still getting an education. We can still prepare to work, and we might not work, but we are preparing ourselves for something that could possibly happen and to be an example to our children. So I just think that they're missing so much of what she is saying.
I agree. I think that they're maybe they feel guilty for the choices they're making, and so they're trying to like justify what their thoughts and actions on everything. And the thing that stood out to me most was we distrust separate but equal rhetoric. Anyone who is regularly reminded that she is equally important is probably not. That just made me laugh out loud because I mean, people need to be reminded of things all the time, and priesthood holders need to be reminded of the power of the priesthood that they have. And if we don't remind them, they'll be just fine. But if they're reminded of their priesthood power, they will act upon it more and cherish it more. And I just think that it is totally a worldview of everyone should be equal and nobody's different, and I just couldn't, I don't know.
So one thing that I felt about the article was that it seemed like they tried to pick at every single word that Sister Beck used and insinuate that she was being oppressive. Like, she phrases it one way, and they're like, oh, how dare she say that we're worth nothing or whatever. And you're like, that's not even what she said. So it just felt like every single phrase that she used, they were like trying to pick at it or whatever, and it drove me crazy. One of the ones that I thought was kind of putting the world with the doctrine was when it said, we reverence the responsibility to choose how, when, and whether we become parents. Many of us have adopted and fostered children and grandchildren from diverse ethnicities and cultures. We have given birth to children who range widely on every dimension, from personality, appearance, and sexual identity to physical, social, and mental ability. No matter what their differences, we care for them all. And it's like, we care for our children just as much as you care about your children. Like, it just seemed like they're combining, oh, we can have kids whenever we want, and when we do have kids, we're going to love them more than you do. Kind of just the way that they had the doctrine of love your children, and they combined it with, oh, we can choose when. You know, I mean, Sister Beck's talk wasn't even saying, okay, go make a baby right now either. Like, she was just saying the commandment is still enforced. And so, I don't know, that part made me kind of mad. I was just like, okay, you can choose, whatever, but you're saying that your kids who are different than us and you love them more or something. I thought it was dumb.
Yeah, I thought that part was kind of silly. I was like, really? Like, and that was the thing, everything that they said. And I wondered if it was the ordained women group. I didn't know how to find out, but or another group, but yeah, I just felt like they just kind of tried to kind of diminish the importance of everything Sister Beck said. And yeah, I really did think like, oh, they're trying to make Sister Beck sound oppressive, even though like it's not. Like, it's so sweet and kind and good, and oh, I loved her talk. But the couple of things I was like kind of bugged with is, well, when they talked about the stripling warriors, like, I just thought, like, I was so annoyed. Like, I thought, oh, here we are, like, we are praising their moms. Like, they raised these boys to take a stand and fight against the wickedness of the world. And they're like, what? This is a tragedy because the wicked people that were attacking them were killed. Like, I just felt like, so, I don't know that we're praising, like, hey, yay that there's war. I don't know. Like, I just felt like we're not promoting war, but we are promoting moms teaching their kids to stand up and take a stand against the evils of the world. Like, how great. And that was one of those that I thought, that's that scripture that's just twisted and turned. And anyways, but then at the very end they say, they just talk about our roles as mothers, sisters, daughters, partners, and friends are just a few of the parts we play in the course of our lives. We may influence hundreds, perhaps thousands, but we are not our roles. We are created in the image of the divine, people of worth in our own right, in our own choices, in our individuality, and in our belief that the life story we are ultimately responsible responsible for is our own. And I like the part that really bugged me is when they said we are not our roles, because for some reason I felt like, oh, our roles are what we're trying to, like, they're helping us reach our potential, our divine potential, and our roles are blessing so many lives. And like, I think my role as mother is so, like, it's so huge. Like, I don't think, like, they just downplayed like this major calling that we have, and like our purpose here, you know, is to have children and raise them, and that's where we find the most joy. And I don't know, I just thought it was really sad that they kind of said, oh, but we have our agency, so we can be someone else. We don't have to be our roles, I guess. I just thought it was, the whole thing was just weird, I guess, and sad.
I'm just going to say something really quick. I like that Cambria pointed out the roles part, because it seems like the world so often wants to be defined by, oh, I'm attracted to someone of the same sex, and they're like, oh, I can't change that, that's my role. So it's like they're contradicting a lot of what, you know what, does that make sense? Like, they're like, oh, I'm not my role, but this is who I am, so don't change me. You know, it's like, what are you saying? Are you speaking English? Because I can't understand.
I think it's really, I think it's like a double standard. You know, like, it's okay for them to claim it, but not for us, you know, the role.
If there were a document titled What God Knows About Women and Mothers, which of the two articles you read would most closely resemble that?
Okay, before I answer this, sorry, I was taking notes. So I have a friend who is a feminist. She's like freaking nuts. But she got pregnant, which I laugh about it all the time. And I feel so sorry for this kid. And he's 6 years old. And the things that she teaches him is out of this water. Like, you would be like, wait, what? So his grandma committed suicide. And she, because she doesn't believe that there's a heaven, because why would there be a heaven? And motherhood is so horrible, that she told her son that this is what motherhood leads to, is suicide. And then she made him watch a movie on someone committing suicide. So he knew what she did. And she was like, that's why you go to daycare, that's why I still work, because I don't want to end up like Grandma Shirley. And it is like, and she is not ashamed. Like, she is not ashamed of teaching her children that, or her child that. And I'm just like, I can't, I don't even know, like, speechless. But yeah, she told her son that this is because she was a mother that she committed suicide. So, anyways, back to the question number 3, it would be Sister Beck's. I would refer to Sister Beck's talk for if there was a document for that.
I agree. It would be Sister Beck's, because it talks about the divine role of mothers and the plan of happiness and how we are here for a purpose. And they talk about mothers being the closest to angels that there could be, and how important the role of motherhood is for everyone. So I think that is the one that would closely resemble it.
I agree. I think Sister Beck also mentioned women who can't have children. Like, she also mentioned women's roles just in society and how great of an influence that they have on everybody. One really quick comment on Natalie's comment was just that so the word feminist has become kind of a bad word in our church now because there's so many radical and extreme feminists. And so, like, I think we would all consider ourselves feminists because we're all getting our education, and there are people who fought for our rights to vote and stuff like that. But those people that take it too far, like, I just feel like the radical feminists are totally getting rid of every definition of what motherhood was. And so I don't agree with that. But people, seriously, I feel like it's almost, I don't know if it's just they feel like robbed or injustice, or they feel like they deserve to be equal. I don't know what it is, but I think we all consider ourselves feminists. So I thought I'd put that little plug out.
I agree, and I like what you said, that, like, something I thought about, I obviously thought of my friend first thing when I was reading about all this stuff, and I thought, she made the decision, she was stupid enough to get pregnant. Like, she wasn't on birth control, you know what I mean? It was her decision, and it's like all these other radical feminists, that's what I'm talking about. They feel like they have to stand up for these people, but 90% of the time, people are parents because they want to be parents. I mean, I'm sure that there's people who have kids that are not interested in that, and I'm sure it's maybe more than or less than 10%. But these are personal choices. It's like, who are you standing up for besides you and the person next to you? And you guys don't have kids, so it's like, what are you fighting for? Who are you standing up for? You're not oppressed. I'm not oppressed. It was my decision. It's your decision not to have kids. It's my decision to have kids. So it's like what you said. It's like, they go back, and it's like, no, like, we've come a long way, and these are our decisions. We've made these decisions. We have the right to make these decisions.
Yeah, and I think, well, I obviously think that Sister Bex is more closely related to to Heavenly Father's plan and what he would, I mean, if he had an article, which he does, the scriptures and all sorts of things, and yeah, Sister Bex right along with it. But I just think, I don't know, like, I guess going off of the comments, like, I've just thought, it is really sad to see, because we have, like, women were oppressed, and I think they still are in a lot of societies, and I mean, it happens, we know it does, and it's not right, and it is hard because I don't feel oppressed, and I feel like because of the gospel teachings and because of the talks like Sister Bex, these mothers who know, and this, like, I don't know, like, I felt inspired at the end. Like, yeah, this is what I want to be. Is my house always clean? No. Are my kids always wearing ironed clothes to church? No, we're not. Because we try, but we aren't. And she knows that. She knows it's hard to be a mom. And I know it's hard to be a mom. But I know that all that hardness, like, all the difficulties, all the trials we face, like, are outweighed so much by the blessings of being a parent and being a mom and seeing our children grow and being able to teach them and having those little aha moments where you go, well, they're getting it. Like, they're learning. They have a testimony. They love Heavenly Father. They feel His love. And I think that it just, like, that's the thing. And I think that it's sad to have, like, this other article that they're trying to take that away and diminish the importance and the spirit behind that role. So
going on that role, what do you know a woman's role to be in our Father's plan?
Okay, I have something pulled up, so just give me a second, okay? I'm not ignoring you guys. But my computer is taking forever. Okay, maybe. And of course, I went straight to the proclamation. And in the kind of in the third and fourth paragraph is what I saw the women's role as in Our Father's plan. It says, husband and wife, which would be considered the woman's role, have a solemn responsibility to love and care for each other and for their children. Parents have a sacred duty to rear their children in love and righteousness, to provide for their physical and spiritual needs, and to teach them to love and serve another, observe the commandments of God, and be law-abiding citizens where they live. Husbands, wives, mothers, and fathers will be held accountable before God for the discharge of these obligations. And then a little in, paragraph 4, it says, mothers are primarily responsible for the nurture of their children. In these sacred duties of responsibilities, fathers and mothers are obligated to help one another as equal partners. Disability, death, or other circumstances may necessitate individual adaptation. Extended families should lend support when needed, which I think goes back to refer to what the other article was saying, that we know that things happen and you have to work, and even the first presidency knew, and Heavenly Father knows that sometimes we don't have ideal situations, and that's okay, but just to make the best of what you can.
So I was searching motherhood on LDS.org, and they have a whole page about motherhood. They're getting ready for Mother's Day, actually, with the hashtag it was mom. So I'm sure they're going to introduce it after Easter. It talks all about the importance of motherhood, and they said being a mother is so much more than a biological process. It's a heavenly job created by God before this life. In heaven, all of us who live now and all who have ever lived on earth lived with God. And God has a plan that allows all of us to come to earth. God chose mothers to bear the responsibility of providing physical bodies for his children through the miraculous process of pregnancy and birth. Being a mother means participating in the miracle that is God's greatest work. President Monson said one cannot remember mother and forget God. Why? Because these two sacred persons, God and mother, partners in creation in love and sacrifice and service, are as one. The divine role of mother is exhibited in all women, whether they've born children or not. It's important to remember that the call to nurture is not limited to our own flesh and blood. I just thought that was really put the role of motherhood so nicely, because it is part of Heavenly Father's plan, and it's his greatest miracle to have children born on this earth. And sometimes I think we don't. We're like, oh, another kid, more people. We don't really quite grasp the miracle that it is for a new baby. And that they pointed out that motherhood isn't just for our flesh and blood. It's for all women are endowed with the nurturing aspects and can be a mother. My husband's aunt is in her 50s. She's never had children. But she has been such a great influence on all of her nieces and nephews, and she just loves them all and takes care of them, and she's the one that remembers everybody's birthdays, and she's always there to help them out with whatever they need. And so the role of motherhood isn't just limited to the children that you have, and it is an important part of God's plan to cherish your role as a mother.
So I have similar comments. You guys went to the church website, which I think is a great idea. I just started naming off some things that I thought of that women do in the home and also out of the home. They could be teachers, they could be leaders, they could be mothers, even if they don't have their own kids. They could be a friend, they could be a sister, they could be a wife. and all these roles have, I don't know, I just feel like they all have their own kind of responsibilities, and there are so many things that women can do. It's not, I feel like when people talk about women's roles, they think that they're lower than men's roles, but there are so many that if you even wanted to do all the women's roles, you'd be overwhelmed. So I'm just grateful that our church teaches from, like, in young women's at a very young age, like, what is important about being a woman.
Hannah, you just remind me of a little video my dad had me watch the other day. It was for a job interview. Maybe you guys have seen this. I think it was like circulating like last Mother's Day or something. I had never seen it, but it was like about a guy, like all these people were interviewing for a job, and he was like, oh, so these are the requirements. Like you will, you have to work every holiday. You never get, oh, it's 24/7, and you have to do most of it standing up or bending over. I was like laughing so hard, and you have to do this. And they were like, what? Like just shocked that this is the job. And they were like, okay, so what's the salary? And he said, oh, it's free. Like you don't get paid. Anyways, and he went on and on telling all these qualities and all these things that they would have to do. And they were just like, this doesn't seem right. And then when he said, there's actually someone that already does this. And they said, well, who? They said, mothers. And all of the people kind of went, oh, yeah, you're right. Like, they do. And it was just so cute to kind of see them. And one of the people were just like, moms are awesome. And I was just like, you know, they really are. And I am one, I know. But I was thinking, when I was thinking of this, the role of a mother, I was thinking of my mom, because my mom grew up she was the only child with a single mom who was mentally ill and very abusive and ritualistic, and my mom had a really hard childhood, and like she didn't have a mom, like she didn't have a mom in her home, but she has told me like she learned what a mom should be, and she learned what a family should be by going to other people's homes. And even though the moms there weren't her biological mom, they were able to teach her and be her mom and teach her the gospel and give her this foundation. And like I think it's so neat that she could have that. And I think like she had those people teaching her, but I also think she knew from gospel teachings that what a mom should be, and those innate qualities and the divine qualities she had in her. She knew how to nurture. She had to, but it was, you know, like she had to learn. But she was a great mom to us, and she was so kind and so loving and so nurturing, and complete opposite of what she received in the home. And I think she was taught that a lot of it by example and through like divine inspiration, you know. And I think, and by learning, by talks like this that teach us how to be parents, and because we all become moms. And I guess this this question made me even think back to when I was a first mom. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I was the baby of my family, and I didn't ever like to babysit. I was not like super nurturing with other people's kids, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I was scared, but I figured it out. And like, I like to babysit now. Well, I kind of do. I have to babysit tomorrow. I don't know that I'm game for it, but I just thought, oh, the role of a mother, I think, changes too. Like, I'm not changing diapers anymore, and I'm not doing those things, and it's a lot more emotional and teaching, and like a lot more mentally demanding. And I don't know, like, I think we progress as our kids do, and I'm still learning how to be a mom. And I have to tell my 13-year-old sometimes, like, I actually don't know the answer to this. I haven't had to deal with this in parenting yet. Like, give me a second and I'll get back to you. But I think it's just like I'm learning to be a mom, and I think that it's a lifetime of learning. And I think that's the great thing about this talk is that it is this potential and this ideal that he knows that we're going to be working for, like, well, Heavenly Father knows like that we'll be striving for it. And I don't know. So I was thinking like we're nurturers and we're teachers and we're a light to our kids and we're caregivers and we give hugs and we pick people up and we give people, like we're lifting up, we're validating, we're serving, we're organizing, we're being homemakers, we're making dinner, we're doing all these things. And I think, and we're not necessarily just to the people in our own family. Like that's our number one place. But I think of my mom and how inspirational those moms were to her in her life. And like I thought, we don't know when we're going to touch a child or make a difference in someone else's life, even if they're not our own kid. And I think that that's the role of mothers and of women. We need to be kind and nurturing and be that light to the world. We're not always perfect at it, but we try.
So just something to go along with that. I attended Time Out for Women this last year, and one of the speakers, she got married, and he already had 3 kids. His wife had like died or something, and so she was basically got married and then became a mom. And so she would say that she said that the first day she was alone with all 3 kids, she called her husband, she locked herself in a room and she was crying. She was like, I'm a new wife, I'm a new mom, and these kids are older, and so they're kind of already through the learning stage. And she was like, but things got real for me when I admitted that I needed help. And that's when she went to the Lord, and he told her to pray for gentleness and long-suffering for herself and for her kids. And after that, she never yelled at her kids. And one day someone came up to her and said, I want to live with you because you never yell at your kids. And that's when she stepped back and realized how far she had come from that first day of being locked in the closet and crying. And I really do think, like Cambria said, there are so many examples in your life that you can take and give what life gives to you and makes the best out of it. And that's your mom took the best out of the examples that she had others around, and I'm sure that those mothers prayed for her and that they prayed for gentleness and long suffering for her, and that's how she became such a good mom. But anyways, I just wanted to share that to pray, because I try to pray for that, but I still yell a lot.
Okay, and one more thing. This is just like a little plug for my mom, but my mom is actually the BYU Idaho devotional speaker on May 26th. If you guys are like up to listen to the devotional, my mom's speaking, which is really fun. I don't know if she's feeling super fun about it, but I am.
I was going to say, going along with your thing about all the roles that mothers play, that I think too many times that people think of that sometimes we think of ourselves as just a mom, and that these extreme feminists think of us as just moms, and why can't we be so much more? And you can be so much more, and you have the potential to be all these things and to do all these things and provide for your family and to influence the community and serve in the community and do whatever. And that if we turn our focus off of just a mom, but I am a mom, I get to be a mom, I think that's really important. And I liked babysitting when growing up, and I was a nanny, and I hate babysitting now. There's something about other people's kids that I'm like, I just don't like them as much as I like my own, and I don't want to be around you. But our next question is, how might a man's understanding and conviction of a woman's role dramatically impact the eternal well-being of children, families, and women?
Sorry, I'm trying to find the question again so I can actually see it. So I thought it was funny on the What Women Know that men had signed it too. I'm like, all you feminist freaks want now support by men. It's like, what are you trying to give men more power? Like, I really didn't understand why they had men sign it or even be involved in it, because it's not talking about what women know, it's or what men know. It's talking about, hey, don't expect this from us. You know, we're but when we go back to things like the proclamation and so many other talks, like this talk by Sister Beck, um, and we've learned a lot about in religion classes and in scripture about the word helpmeet, where you are an equal partner. You and your spouse are supposed to work together. You know, Eve was created by the rib and Adam, and so you work side by side, you work together. In the proclamation it says that both fathers and mothers are responsible for the care and nurture of their children. So I think that a man's understanding and conviction of a woman's role dramatically impact the internal well-being of children, families, and women, because they play as equal a part as being that in the family as well.
I agree with that. In the proclamation, it's when it says mothers are primarily responsible. It doesn't say that mothers are the only one responsible, but it is primarily the mother's responsibility with the help from the husband, and that they are supposed to work together and help each other. I had something just about how to support husbands, to support their wives and appreciate mothers. I can't find it now. But if men understood the roles of mothers, and fortunately my husband does and supports me in being a mom and getting to be a stay-at-home mom, and I think that's really important to have the support from our husbands and our church leaders. And it helps women know that they're at their divine potential, that you're not just a mom, but you have this great potential that we've been talking about the whole time.
I agree with everything that's been said already, but when men understand women's roles, it really, I think this is the exact same way if women understand men's roles. They really can be support for each other, and they can really buoy each other up when, okay, I can't change this baby's diaper, or I can't do the dishes, could you help me? And if there's no like traditional boundaries or anything, like if you respect each other, then you're going to be able to support each other a lot more. And then on the flip side, if there's an inappropriate understanding of a woman's roles, then the men can, they can become oppressive, just like the Women Who Know article. They probably were burned or something when they felt like men weren't treating them equally or fairly. And so there's definitely a balance, but we do know that if men know their roles as men and women know their roles as women, and they know that they're both divine callings, then you can really support each other.
Hannah, you're just sparking all sorts of thoughts in me. But the changing diaper thing, I just would like to give a shout out to, like, I know that there are some men who won't change diapers, and I just think, well, I don't want to either. Like, why did that sound like, yes, I'm a mom, finally, I'm going to change 10 diapers a day, my dream. Anyways, I just always feel like, yeah, go ahead and help out. Yeah, I like you guys have said, just I think that when men understand the role of a woman, there's just a lot more respect and a lot more help. And I think that likewise, we as women need to understand and respect the role of a man. And I think that that's when oppression comes in and when it becomes unbalanced. And I think that one of the hard things is the equal partners. For some reason, the world has gotten the idea of just equality and forgot the partners part. And I think that like being partners is really so great, and it makes parenting and being a mother so much better when you know you have a partner in that. And I know a couple years ago I got sick, and I was sick for like a month and kind of quarantined to my room. I got like a super bug from, I don't know, like one of those viruses that really hard to kill, and it was bad. Anyway, so for like probably 3 weeks, I was really quarantined to my room. I had a nurse, my husband, telling me like, stay in your room. So he had to do everything, and it was, and he's always been really helpful. Like he really is great, but he is, but he had to do everything, and it was like I was so impressed with him and with my kids, and I thought, like, he didn't complain, he didn't do any of that, and I thought that's a great partner, like that's someone who really cares and understands and isn't, I don't know, because we do hear about the men that say like, I am man, hear me roar kind of thing. And I think it's so great to have a partner and feel like when you're down that they can cover that and be able to help you in that. And I can't probably go and be a nurse at the hospital if he gets sick. They won't let me. But I would like to think I could like step up and kind of take on some fathering roles if he's not available. But I think that's part of the respect, that you're a lot more willing to help each other when you feel understood and you are respecting one another,
I really like that you said equal partners, not equality, but equal partners. I was reminded of a talk that I was reading by President Hinckley, and he was talking about all the things that mothers should teach their children. And at the very end, he said, "But don't be overwhelmed. Don't you worry. In 2 weeks, I'm going to tell all the men these same things that they need to teach their children in priesthood session." And so I think even the church leaders, they are focused on that partnership, the equal partnership, and both contributing and helping the family. And then our last question is, the Savior said that in the last days, even the very elect shall be deceived. How can we avoid being deceived by the world's philosophies of men and women's roles?
So I would like to steal what Cambria just said, where she had talked about that it's not about equality, it's about being in an equal partnership. And the world, is trying to tell women, you're so much better than that. You shouldn't be a mom. Like, you can be in a career and you can make more money than men, and you can be equal, and you can have all these things that these men have and live a carefree life. And goes back to what I had stated earlier. It's their personal choice. It's my choice to be a stay-at-home mom and to have 2 kids. It's not Cambria's choice. It's not my sister's choice. It's nobody's choice except mine, my husband's, and the Lord. So it's like, so we just need to keep standing strong and be who we are and stand up for who we want to be. Make the choices that we know that are right, and go back to, don't forget about, being equal partners. That's what matters, not equality in each role.
When you're talking, Natalie, it reminded me of an article that I read a few weeks ago from she's a female executive. She's been an executive for years, but she started a new company, Power to Fly, which helps moms who are working. And she just talks about how, I'm sorry to all the mothers that I ever worked with before. I was a horrible person, and I never appreciated the roles of motherhood until I had a child of my own, and now I know how important it is and how much mothers are capable of. And I'd rather hire someone who is a mother, because they're more dependable and more on top of things and can accomplish so much more than someone that isn't. But anyway, I was just reminded of that, because that's the world's view, is that mothers aren't capable of doing more than just being a mother, and that if that's your job, then that's your job, and that's all you can do. And they don't, not many people understand the potential of mothers. But I also think that the What Women Know article, I think it goes right along with the ordained women who just think that they know more than the church leaders and that they're smarter than them somehow, that they have this insider knowledge that women are being oppressed when they're really not. Women are being empowered within the church, and if we focus on the role of motherhood as the church defines it, and our divine potential, and not what the world thinks of mothers, then we can not be deceived by the philosophies of men.
So I kind of was thinking of this question, like, how do we not be deceived by the world's philosophies in general? Like, with every aspect, if there's a part of our testimony that we don't really understand fully, it's kind of like you don't go to the ordained women movement if you have a question about women in the priesthood. You know what I mean? You go to the Family Proclamation, you go to the talks available on LDS.org, you go to the scriptures, and you go to the Lord in prayer, in honest prayer, not just like, okay, this is what I think, amen, you know? And so just kind of the question asks, how can we avoid being deceived? And I think it's a matter of just, in any aspect, matter if it's with women, with motherhood and womanhood, or if it's paying tithing or something like that. It's all where your heart is, and if it's honest, and if you really want to find an answer, God will answer you.
This question is kind of interesting. This week we just heard about a family who, like friends of my sister, active in the church, have been, have just that, like active, great, and they are following a kind of a radical group and just starting to believe some radical things and following teachings of a leader that's like not in the well, they're in the church, but just teaching like, hey, I had another vision kind of thing. And my sister's just like, are you kidding? Like, really? Like, it was so shocking, and it was just sad. So I read this and I thought, well, yeah, like these guys are being deceived, and I don't know that they realize it, but I think that like sometimes we like are looking past the mark and like looking beyond, and like Hannah said, like, and you guys all said, like, we need to like listen to the prophet and follow the prophet and read our scriptures and be praying and doing those things. But I think we always need to check back with like, is it in line with the prophet? Like, the prophet speaks for us, and the prophet has never said anything that's outside of scriptural things. And I just thought, oh, I guess that's the thing. Like, we don't need to search outward. Like, if we have questions, we go to the church doctrine. We don't have to read this book that was written by someone that maybe is a little bit, just has different philosophies. Like, we can always go to the prophet. And I think that's probably, I don't know, like and I think that with all things. And I think, yeah, and I think also with the men and women's roles, like, we just need to, like, really, like Natalie said too, just like respect husbands and wives, like respect one another, and don't look outside. Don't look to the, ordained women. Don't start to, I guess wasn't it Elder Uchtdorf said, like, doubt your doubts, and just always stay focused on what the gospel teaches. So, I don't know.
Okay, so before I share my notes, I have to tell you guys a funny story. This just goes to show how sick we've been around here. So Harper is like, she's getting a lot of blessings. Every time like something happens, my first thing is my husband gives her a blessing. So the other day, Oakley and Harper were in the bath, and I was in my room getting ready, and I walked into the bathroom, and they are in the bath giving each other blessings. And like they were like one arm was folded, one arm was on top of the head, and they were just saying like, Heavenly Father, please help me feel better. Amen. And so I recorded it and I sent it to my sister. I'm like, oh no, we have ordained women in our household. And so it's been like this joke, and so I pulled Oakley aside and I'm like, that's something that only Daddy does, and she's like, well, why? And so I really start to think about it, and I'm like, I would not hate, the responsibility of being a priesthood holder. Like, that carries so much. Like, one blessing can change the world. You know what I mean? And it's like that. And it was just like so much, and so like obviously I just said, well, Daddy holds the priesthood and Mommy doesn't, and you don't and Harper doesn't, but Daddy does, and so he can give us blessings. But it just made me think like of the true responsibility that priesthood have, and I'm like, why would you want that responsibility? I mean, it's a huge responsibility. I'm like, as a mother, I have enough responsibilities. I wouldn't want those. So anyways. Sorry.
I was just going to say, in my Old Testament class, we talk about Esau and how he's like so focused on the pot of pottage, whatever it is. And my teacher kept saying, don't give up. I mean, a lot of times we think we want what we can't have all the time. Like we don't look at all the blessings that Esau was blessed with. He only wanted this one birthright or whatever. And so it's like, sometimes I feel like we get the people with the ordained women movement, they're so caught up in what they don't have that they don't realize all the great blessings that they have as women. And I also, before Cambria said the doubt your doubts, I was thinking that exact same thing. I was like, you can't let one thing unravel your whole testimony. You can't let one thread that you don't understand unravel your whole testimony.
Going along with that, when this whole time we've been talking about, I'm like, I am perfectly happy being a mom, and I don't think if I had a choice, if I'd want to be a man, and I love being a mom and being a man. Like, you have to go to work and you have to be you have so much more responsibility. I feel like providing for your family. And the other thing that I thought of was, Natalie, when you were saying that you would want the responsibility. I just think of the responsibility of being a mother and to have the priesthood. I just think that would be so much more than anyone can handle. And Heavenly Father will only give you what you can handle in life. Both of those is just too much, I think.
Well, it is. It's like after my sister and I were laughing, and I was like, we would never sleep. Like, the responsibility would be so great that it would be ridiculous. Like, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay not having it, so.
And what's great though is that our husbands are okay with not being moms. Like to them it's like, wow, that's a big calling. And I think that's what the complementary roles are all about. Like they, feel their weight, we feel our weight, and we can respect the weight on each other's shoulders. So yeah, I'm glad to be a mom. And I'm glad I don't have to work. I'm glad I get to do my job in pajamas.
Seriously. Sean's always like, you have it easier because you can stay in yoga pants all day. And I'm like, that is true.
And I do think sometimes, like, while I'm doing school, like just doing school from my house, I'm like, it sometimes makes me sad that it's taking me away a little bit from being a mom, And I just, and I know that there are moms that have to work. My mom worked, but she still has said, like, it was so hard. I wish I could have been able to be home, and circumstances were that she couldn't, but it was just like I think moms feel like they need to be home more, and I think dads would go stir crazy. Like, I think it would be like, we gotta go, I've got to get working, because we're built different. Back to 4:30, our 4:30 class where we're learning about gender roles this week, so plug for that.
The classic response would be to watch Mr. Mom. Because I love that movie, but it's like he like has all these fantasies. It like just drives him nuts. It just doesn't work. So, does anyone have anything else to add before I do my Okay, I'm going to read the questions. So if you have something to say, speak up because I'm not going to be looking at this screen. For question number 1, which of these readings do you side with more and why? We all agreed that Sister Beck's talk was more powerful, motivating, and embracing to motherhood. Motherhood is wonderful. It follows the doctrine, and it leads with the Spirit. It has the other, what women know, were more the views of the world. Back to Sister Beck's talk, it was ideal that she was sharing the ideal that we are all striving for to reach our divine potential. What do you think was tone and focus of the What Women Know article? Did you see any of the philosophies of men mingled with doctrine? If so, where? Most of us felt that the What Women Know group feel guilty for the choices that they are making. People are needed to be reminded of what potential they have, and they're constantly being reminded, not just mothers needing to be reminded of what their roles are. It's definitely the world view, and they were picking at every word or phrase that Sister Beck had said, and it was taken out of context. One thing that they said is we reverence the opportunity to be parents, as in adopting or fostering all those different views, as if we didn't do the same thing. The world contradicts what that we are not our roles, but our roles are our divine potential. But the world contradicts that we are not our roles, yet they define people by their roles ultimately. Number 3 is, if there was a document entitled What God Knows About Women and Mothers, which of the 2 articles you read would most closely resemble that? We all agreed that Sister Beck's talk would be most appropriate. It talks about the divine role of mothers. Mothers are the closest thing to angel. It's in the plan of salvation. Women who, it also included women who can't have children, and the important part they still play in the world. Women were and are oppressed, but we don't feel oppressed. We made the choice to become mothers. Difficulties of being a mother are outweighed far by the blessings that you get when you become a mother. Number 4. How might a man's understanding and conviction of a woman's role dramatically impact the internal well-being of children, family, and women? We went to the proclamation where we learned that we are responsible for love, rearing children. Mothers and father are equal. Care for them. Mother and fathers are equal. It's a heavenly job, and God chose mothers to give His spiritual children physical bodies. All women are endowed with motherly instincts, being a mother or not. We are teachers, leaders, friends, sisters, wives, mothers. Women can do and achieve so many things. We have a lot of potential, and our divine potential gives us more. We are caregivers. We like to we give hugs. We are validating. We are homemakers. We are home workers. We are not just a mom. We are a mom. Number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh wait. Sorry. Whatever. I messed up. This is the same question but different answers. Sorry. How might a man's understanding and conviction of a woman's role dramatically impact the internal well-being of children, family, and women? We talked about being help me, went back to the proclamation that mothers are quote-unquote primarily responsible, not that they are solely responsible for the care and rearing of their children. It's important that we support each other to realize each other's divine potentials. If there was no boundaries in a way that women belong in the kitchen and men belong working, then there would be more respect in the relationship for each other and their divine roles. We are not equal part. Oh, the world is more concerned about equality more than equal partners. Feel understood and doubt your doubts. Number 6, the Savior has said that in the last days, even the very elect shall be deceived. How can we avoid being deceived in the world's philosophies of men's and women's roles? The world's view is that mothers are not capable of doing anything else but being a mom. It truly is where your heart is. People are blinded by the deceit. We need to listen and follow the prophet. We don't need to search outward. Always go to prophet, doctrine, and scripture, and stay focused. And that was our meeting.